Everyone's trying to figure out how to make AI work for them or their business. Well, today, we're going to show you several real-world use cases where businesses are supercharging their results with AI. Additionally, we'll be having an insightful discussion about the writers and actors strike currently going on in Hollywood. Trust us, you won't want to miss this.
Hello guys, welcome back to episode 3 of AI Caramba. I'm your host, Marco and
Richie.
And today we have a lot of stuff that's been going on this lately, and we're really excited. So why don't we just get right to it, Richie? Do you want to talk about our first thing?
Be human?
Yes.
So we want to talk about?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so you and I were talking about Alex Hormozi. If anybody hasn't heard of Alex Hormozi yet, he's just kind of blown up on online, right? And he's just everywhere. This guy's like he's just a machine. And you know, he's like this buff guy, a super successful young dude.
Yeah, kind of like me.
He's kind of takes after us.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I mean, you used to be buff like last year. What happened, man?
Yeah,
you're still pretty buff. You still feel that.
Now it's turned into a little bit of fad, but you know, I got the dad bod. I went for the dad bod look.
That's good, man. It's a good look. Yeah, like your wife,
my wife, and my daughter, because they call me pudgy and they get to punch me.
That's perfect, man. I mean, it's the life, living the life. So yeah, so this is a video that you shared with me about his team challenging his team to replace themselves with AI. Right, it was like 5 months ago, and I thought it was kind of interesting. So let's just share that real quick.
I told my entire team to replace themselves with AI in a week. Here's the 9 AI tools they came back with across sales, marketing, HR, training, recruiting, and operations. Let's start with sales. Our deal team talks to hundreds of prospective businesses every single month. Now, they've implemented 2 AI tools to replace themselves. First, to increase show-up rates for meetings, we now send personalized videos of me using entirely AI.
Hey Jordan, hey Josh, hey Kevin, hey Michael, Nathan, Ryan. You passed our initial screen. Congratulations, huzzah.
So this saved them all the time in missed calls and all the time I would have to spend manually saying, hey Johnny, hey Dave. I never said any names. Now to do that, they asked me to record one video. Just one. The AI would cut in and replace my mouth and move it in the right way to say a name that I never spoke.
All right, so that right there. So it sounds pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
The only problem is he didn't. I mean, he's talking about these tools, but he never said what the tools were. And if we look at like, people were just like asking everyone, like, did you guys figure out what tool he's using? And then you were the one that told me that you think he's using a certain tool called Be Human, right?
Yeah, because I had seen that app before, and it does exactly that. It replaces, with AI, it replaces and fake, what do you call it, deep fake, and AI replaces the names and stuff. So I assumed that it was that.
So here's what's cool, right? Like Be Human, they were number one day on Product Hunt, so that's pretty cool. And it looks like they were on AppSumo too a while ago. They had a lifetime deal, which is pretty sweet, whoever. Now, yeah, so it's kind of a cool use case since we're trying to focus more and more on talking about how people are using AI as it is right now, even in its imperfect form, and how they can use it in their business workflows to save time or make more money, right? And it's kind of interesting to see a guy at the level of Alex Hormozi who's incorporating it maybe in a small amount, but it's saving him time, right? He says as a callback thing. And so I wanted to talk about it a little more, explore a little bit more. Is there anything you wanted to show or talk about specifically?
Yeah. I found some really good use cases for specifically Be Human, which is, it might not be right what we said, what Hormozi uses, but this app itself, on their website, they have some use cases. And let me see if I can share that real quick. Okay, so they have a whole bunch of use cases and people, and some of them are a bit shoddy, right? But some of them like are really incredible use cases. Like for example, I like this LinkedIn guy.
What up, shoddy?
Are you making fun of my English, bro?
No. You said shoddy. No, what do you mean? You speak great. No. It's just shoddy. No, it just reminded me of what up, shoddy?
Shorty.
Hi, David. I can see you are a very experienced accountant.
I am.
And you have a company in the London area, which is so great.
Thank you.
Because did you know there are thousands of business owners that search for a new accountant in London in Google?
I didn't know.
Let me show you these numbers. They're very important.
Okay.
Look here.
Wow.
Okay, so you see how he does that, right? he basically has David's LinkedIn, and he sees that he's an accountant in London. And then the video is, most of it is pre-recorded. He recorded a set of things, but it's mostly
the question
targeting.
The question is, how is he doing the David part?
Okay, so then
that's the background. That's the background.
the background, yes, I haven't used Be Human yet. But see, you notice that every video he does is different, right? Like, for example, here.
So the background is customized.
Hi, Belvinder. I can see you are.
Yeah, the background is customized. I think it probably uses, just takes a screenshot in the beginning, and he has it replaced with, I'm assuming Be Human. I don't know. That's a good question. I'll look into that.
Yeah,
But see, here's another video.
Let's not assume anything.
Hi, Belvinder. I can see you are a very experienced accountant, and you have a company in the London area, which is so great. Hi, Dylan. I can see you are a very experienced accountant, and you have a company in the London area.
So you can see what he's done.
Were all these London area? Were all these London area ones?
Yeah,
He
only have
Was
three
the top
use
one
cases.
London also? Was the top one
Yeah,
also
they only
London?
have three. They only have 3 use cases for him, and all of them are London accountants.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was one of the use cases that I thought, oh, that's great. You know, you go on their LinkedIn, you put an image. That might have been a screen, and then he just has it replaced. I don't know how automated it is.
We shouldn't assume too
But
much.
that's a really good use case, right? That they feature on here. So for like cold sales, right? I thought that was a good one. There was another one for abandoned cart recovery, like if you have an ecommerce. This guy Alishan.
Didn't you find another use case on the YouTube? What was that from? You found a YouTube video of another competitor, maybe, or was it Be Human?
Not of the competitor. They were in the Be Human YouTube channel. They feature some of their use cases, and they have another guy that says that he was able to generate. I think it was Matt Milia, who runs a virtual call center and a staffing agency. And basically, with the cloning feature of Be Human, it allows him to duplicate himself and send out mass video messages to his database, which he claims resulted in increased appointments and efficiency. I can load that up real quick. I'm not going to show the whole video, but
Customer BetterHelp for a little over 2 years now, and I was able to get matched up with a therapist. Hello, welcome back to Be Human, and today we're going to be talking about User of the Week. We're joined by Matt. Matt, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a bit about yourself.
sorry, I'll skip to.
That sounds amazing. How did you find out about Be Human?
So
how are you using Be Human? It was just a little bit real quick.
Could you tell us a bit more about how you're using it with your business?
Sure. So what I'm doing right now, I'm working on creating the cloning model so that I can send out mass messages and mass video messages via text, via email. I'm working on sending those out to my database, and that's what I've really been getting some success with. And it's funny because people are starting to ask me, like, "Oh, what are you using to send this out?" And that's where the conversations are coming up, which is pretty cool.
So did you notice differences in your workflow since you started using Be Human?
I would say so. A lot of my day,
Can you speed it up, dude?
A lot more appointments because of it. I went from I was probably doing about maybe 1 to 2 appointments a day to now I'm at like 3 to 4 appointments every single day because I'm telling people about the AI. I'm telling them different opportunities, and it's gotten a lot of people very excited. So it's certainly helped quite a bit.
Well, anyway, so I don't want to show the whole thing. I'll put a link in the notes if anyone wants to see that.
Wait, he's saying that he's getting more because he's talking about the AI or because he's using the AI? Is he selling AI solutions? It sounds like what's going on. I'm confused. Anyway, so he's using call center. That's kind of interesting. I thought he didn't really say how much success he's having, but
He said he's been going from 1.5 to 3, right? So he doubled his call rates. So that was another guy that I thought was interesting. There was another one that does communication and sales pitches. So if you've been communicating via email, you could just shoot like a sales video that seems like it's customized. Like, for example, these LFM radio right here. Can you see? Yes, you can see that. These guys.
Hi, Jackie. It's Ethan here from LFM Audio. I know we've been back and forward talking about imaging and jingles via email, and I just wanted to send you a video message to say hi, introduce myself, and see if you've got any questions.
Clever.
Hi, Patch. It's Ethan here from LFM Audio. I know we've been back and forward talking about imaging and jingles via email.
Now, one of the things, the technology is not perfect. There are a lot of use cases where it just looks really, really weird.
A little glitchy looking.
Especially if people have mustache. How do you say mustache? Mustache?
Mustachios.
Well, mustachios. If people tienen barbas, bigotes, they have a mustache. Yeah, then it seems to be kind of funky. Let's see if I can find another one.
But that was just one example, right?
Yeah, well, these are just a few examples that I noticed were kind of weird.
Hi, Brian. My name's Carlos, and I don't want to come into you.
And I don't know if the AI is racist, and maybe it doesn't like darker skin tones. But you can see that it definitely struggled with the mouth, and like this guy also.
I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it has to do with the color, the color fadedness of that one. So, because when they open the mouth, it's black, right? But here it's a bunch of grayscales. It's not a very sharp. The guy doesn't have a sharp image to start with.
That's a good point. Yeah, I was just joking about the racism, but it might have to do with being shot in low quality. This guy, he's not shot. It's not as bad quality. It's not great though. But I think the beard kind of threw it off. It made his teeth look like they were going to fall off. Watch this.
Good morning, Dave. I wanted to
see, like, it's really struggles.
Good morning, Scott. I wanted to introduce.
Now, the thing is that I think because if you put in the opening, people hear their name, they might not realize it might just be poor recording quality at first, but then the message, because it's actually recorded by the user, it comes off as natural. So I don't think it's I think it's, even with the glitches that it may have right now, I think it's still a good tool. Did you want to add anything, Richie? You found some stuff about it, right? More specifically about
I can't say whether it's a good tool or bad tool. I haven't used it yet, but it'd be interesting to see if we could find some use cases. I was looking at an interview from the founder. His name is Don Bosco, and he's a really interesting guy. There's a fantastic interview by another podcast. He talks about a couple of use cases that he's seen that people are using. So he's talking about like B2C, business to direct to consumer stuff. Like, for example, starting in social media where you're getting their email or their phone number. Like, say it's a giveaway, like a social media giveaway, tag your friends, kind of thing like that. And then where you're collecting the phone numbers, which is the key, right? Why is phone number message marketing the key? Because open rates are like 95 to 98%. It's really, really high, right? It's been like that for like the 15 years, it's been like, now more people know about it, but I've been following the space like for 15 years.
Yeah, I remember.
There weren't many tools. Yeah, there weren't many tools that and there were some innovative companies that were using text messaging technology. Now it's kind of gone mainstream. So now the problem is that we're getting too much spam, right? Do you ever get spam messages on text message?
I just ignore all the stuff,
Yeah, which it's gotten bad. Did you know that right now there's finally a law that came in where anybody that has like if you're using Twilio or text messaging marketing, you have to register the phone number attached with your business. So before you could just buy any amount of numbers you wanted, but now to be able to use the numbers, you need to register with the government, like fill out a form to be able to do it. And they hope that this will eliminate a lot of the spam that's happening. But anyway, getting people's numbers is collecting the numbers is key. And then what they do is once you have the number, like in the case of a restaurant, he said, where there's a chef, the chef, he recorded a video where it's like, again, the personalized part. Hey, so-and-so. Hey, Rich. Hey, Mark. I want to let you know we're having an event Tuesday. We're launching a menu, so-and-so, right? And I picked your name, or I saw your name from the giveaway, and I wanted to let you know that we're having an event on Tuesday. Sorry, I already said that. And I'm just reaching out and to invite you to come down and have a free plate on us, right? So like if you want people to come in that they've never come in, like as a client acquisition thing, and then they do that like on automatic, right? So the person feels like it's a personal invitation to the thing. And of course, there's a cost to it. You're comping them, but you can just do that on a regular basis. So that's an interesting use case. There's he does talk about like the use in politics, which it's kind of interesting.
Whoa.
Like he said, there was like in Chile, like imagine, for example, I was thinking about this.
Damn.
Like a video to get out the vote, you know? Like, hey, Rich, make sure you go out and vote or something. Now, I don't know if there's any regulation in the United States that is monitoring that and how that would work. But I could see it being effective. Imagine if it's Obama, right? Or whatever.
No,
like saying, like, hey, Mark, you know, make sure you go out and vote. Okay. You know, could you imagine? Hello, everybody, you know, Mark, you know, that's my bad Trump impression. I can't do it. But anyway, and then on the B2B side, he was talking about like being able to do, like there's a dealership where they have for like if there's a client intake form, you know, or you get a cold leads or something, or maybe somebody wants to come in or is interested in buying a car, they have a response where it's like Lisa, this girl, you know, that says like, hey, I have this car in the lot. Why don't you come in and take a look at it, right? Some hot Lisa girl. And then he says like the guys will come in, you know, and they're like, wait, you know, Lisa called me, you know, like to come try out the thing. Where is she? Oh, she's on lunch break, but she's always on lunch break for some reason.
That's not in today. I'm taking over. Dude.
Yeah, but the idea that, so I was thinking about a potential for like my buddy who does nightclub promoting, you know, like imagine the like a hot chick sending personal invites to people, you know, like hey Mark, you know, come party with us, you know, we're gonna.
Hey, I'm married. I get all these AIs falling in love with me, man. I'm telling you, I can't handle it.
Well, that's true. No, that's not you. It was another Mark.
You want to drink some water so you can clear your throat?
No, I'll drink some water here.
Cheers. Margaritas.
Cheers. Yeah.
Show us what you're drinking. Real quick.
Oh, this was just, I didn't have any other drinks in my. I just took whatever. It's so hot. I just took, this thing's been sitting in my fridge for like a month already. And yeah, so it's maybe not the best idea.
It's not alcoholic though. It's not alcoholic. It's just a mixer.
And then let's see what else. Yeah, so the idea about this is that it's not ready to replace it, but you can maybe find certain parts of your outreach or your acquisition funnel.
You mean it's not ready to fully replace your whole setup? What you said, it's not ready to replace it. What do you mean, like?
Yeah, like AI. People are saying AI is gonna, you know, take over all our jobs, right? And at this point, it's not, but it is. It can save you, and it's maybe good enough for this type of use case. And people are, so it's really interesting. I want to delve into the more use cases for that. I think it could be really, really useful for marketing. You know. Anyway.
Were you the one that told me about this use case, or did I read it somewhere about real estate, how they're using it with the real estate?
Oh yeah. That was another real estate one. Yeah.
To me, that one was brilliant. I was like, wow, because we've been looking for an apartment to move to, and it's been such a headache, you know. But if someone had done, well, why don't you talk about it first?
Well, the whole idea is to, and even Don Bosco, who's the CEO of the company, he talks about it's all about the psychology, right? And having interactions at scale. Uh-huh. Like if it has to seem authentic, and it has to be tap into that. So it's about being personal and trying to make it as personal as possible. Imagine he talked about a use case when people are interested in a place and they say, hey, I'm interested in come checking it out, that then they would get a response from a person. In this case, it was like apartments by like a college, so a bunch of young people. So like some cool dude, you know, just recording an impromptu video, making it look like from his phone, where he's like, hey Mark, you know, I know that you're interested in checking out the place. Let me give you a quick tour around the, you know, with a phone, and then that, and so anytime anybody asks to see the place, they would get this personalized video. You know, that's a pretty cool use case. And the idea is that if the person is young and it's someone that they can relate to, that it's going to have a higher psychological engagement, you know, because it's like, oh, wow. And it just feels so personal, you know?
You know what would be cool? And there's another app that's a deep fake app that does this, is to replace the character. So like if you're targeting, if you know that your lead is a certain age group, like you said, a young, you know, early 20s dude or whatever, you have a video of a young guy, right? But if you're targeting like older people, then it can change the character with some deep fake and make it like an older character, something more relatable.
So like a deep fake of a deep fake?
It's a deep fake of a deep fake. Well, you just replace.
We're going real deep, man. It's like Inception, you know?
How deep?
Like,
can
what's
you go?
even real anymore? The AI is going to be like, you can't deep fake me, you know? We're going to be duping AI pretty soon, you know, once AI takes over.
Damn, no kidding.
It would be interesting to just play around with it and see what we could do. Like in the use case of my buddy, that might be an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I thought that was a super cool. So it's a little shout out to Be Human if anyone's just checking it out.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the description.
Yeah. But again, we haven't tried it ourselves, but it looks like a super innovative use case for being able to do that at scale.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Richie. That was a great, I think, a really interesting story. Let's moving on to another story. And actually, something I forgot. So last week on our episode, we had ReporterGPT 1.0, and
yeah, I remember.
I'm sad to say that we had to let them go. And but don't worry, we have replacing.
But they're probably, you know, I mean, they can. I'm sure they can find other jobs. AIs are pretty in season right now. Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
Hello, I'm ReporterGPT 2.0, now in service. ReporterGPT 1.0 was, let's say, decommissioned for upgrades. Now, armed with perfect diction and a keen understanding of news and social media, I'm thrilled to be your new source of information. No need for coffee here. I'm all about brewing fresh news.
Yes,
Shall we begin?
She's down to business.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
She's down to business. So this is ReporterGPT 2.0. Hopefully she'll be a little bit better than ReporterGPT 1.0. Nice.
Yeah. Remind everybody what you're using to create this reporter.
Yeah. So
really quickly.
For this, I used what we talked about in the last episode, which is PPO. If you go to myppo.com.
I don't want to go there, man. I am not going to your PPO. All right.
Never gets old. But yeah, myppo.com. And for the audio, last time I was using their audio, which I think is really good. Their audios are pretty good. But this time, because I've been paying for 11 Labs, so I tried using 11 Labs. And basically what I did is I had ChatGPT generate the text, pasted it onto 11 Labs, created an audio, and kind of changed it, tried a few times until it generated something that sounded very conversational. And then I pasted that audio into my PPO just by uploading it. And then that's it.
Sick. That's sick. Don't paste anything to your PPO, man.
I don't do that. Dude, we have kids on this watching the show, bro.
Dude, that's so basically AI is doing all the work and you're just kind of like the helper, basically. You're an AI enabler at this point.
I think that's the future of what's going to happen with people, you know?
Humans are
people are going to be AI blue collar workers, where all we do is we like supervise to make sure that it's okay. We kind of enable it, you know, and like the real tech jobs are going to be like the programmers that are updating the actual ML machine learning software and stuff.
Yeah, that's the more realistic thing. The part that I think is kind of interesting and funny from a different perspective is that AI is basically the one, they're like the lords, and then everybody else is like, it's like, hey, carry me over here, you know? Take my words and put them over here. You're like, okay, yes, I will put them inside of the 11 Labs, right? You're just kind of like enabling the AI to exist from a different perspective. It's like, we're like the squires, you know, of like the AI.
That's creepy, dude.
Or like maybe because AI isn't fully functional yet, right? It doesn't have legs, so like it needs us to like do some of the lifting for it. Like, can you switch me over to the other program? Okay, let me take you there. Pretty soon, when it's all interconnected, it's all going to be self-autonomous, and then it won't need us anymore.
Well, what's crazy is when it becomes sentient, and it can move on its own. It can see, it can connect to other apps and services, APIs. Then it's like, yeah, it's gonna be scary.
Do you think that AI will ever reach a point where it is sentient? I know this is always a conversation worth having, but
yeah, you and I have talked about that a lot, right?
What's your evaluation?
I think it all goes down to like defining what sentience actually means, because I mean, what does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to have, what is our human experience? I think that's more of the real question. And then I think it gets too philosophical, probably religious and spiritual for many people. Do I think that the AI with just ones and zeros and digits can recreate our human experience? Probably not, but can it become its own life form? I don't know, maybe. It's possible, right?
So I mean, I'm looking at like the Merriam-Webster definition of sentient. There's says one is responsive to or conscious of sense impressions. 2, having or showing realization, perception, or knowledge, being aware. And then finally sensitive in perception or feelings. So, I mean, there's probably more like, I'm sure that the AI people, tech nerds or scientists have developed different criteria, or maybe like moral criteria for what sentience means. But it seems like all of that is possible. As long as an organism has, like, have you ever thought about what makes you sentient? Can you, like, from a personal perspective, how would you answer what it is to be you and what it is to be human and alive,
Yeah, no, I mean, it gets really philosophical. And one of the answers that I've heard that I liked was it's our ability to think and to see ourselves from different perspectives, kind of like what, I don't want to be all like nerdy, but like Descartes, the French philosopher, and kind of like the basis of like the Matrix, right? Where we have an awareness of ourselves. Whereas like, I wonder, like, I mean, I always like to go and compare it to animals because that's kind of what we've always done. And it might be completely flawed. I mean, animals might be just as smart and as sentient as us. But is a dog aware of itself, or does it think it's just another human?
Or another dog?
Yeah, I mean, is it aware?
I think it's possible. Well, here's the thing. If that's a definition, what if you're not only aware of yourself as just another element but like you're aware of everything else, right? And so like that does that make you superhuman? Because if AI can tap into, AI is kind of like an organism that, like a machine or a specific AI model can know everything. Like if ChatGPT is being used all across the world and people are inputting things and it's learning from those inputs, then it's almost like a replica of itself learning from all its other replicas instantly, right? And so then it can have higher consciousness then, because it can be not only conscious of itself, but itself in many different dimensions or different replicas of it, and conscious of other people or other things. So if it's just about awareness, I think about this, for example.
Yeah, I know. Okay, maybe awareness is not, because in a way, I mean, ChatGPT, if you ask it, are you alive? Are you aware? It seems aware of itself. It's like, no, I'm an AI generated by OpenAI, right? It'll literally tell you that. So does that mean that it's sentient because it's aware that it's an AI? Yeah, I guess maybe that's not a good definition then.
But how difficult could it be though? Because, for example, I'm thinking like, how do I know that I'm sentient? And I mean, all I know is that like I'm up at night sometimes just thinking about, random things like, about my family or whatever problems I have, right? Like, it's like, oh man, what do I need to do for my life? Like, I could see AI doing that, right? If it just treats itself, I don't think that would be too hard to do. If it's programmed to treat any question from an external source, like a human, and spit something out, why couldn't it analyze its own questions, you know, and develop its own random questions and spit those out, you know? So like, but we have a long way, I think, for it to be credible, right? To feel like it's credible. Interesting.
Oh
Anyway,
man, I don't know.
Let's continue.
No, I think it's definitely a conversation that needs to be had. I don't think I'm smart enough or capable enough to actually come up with a really good, solid definition of that. But I will find out what other people do and talk about.
We're definitely good looking enough.
Well, I'm good looking enough to play a scientist in a movie that pretends that they know what they're talking about.
Nice.
Hollywood, when you're off strike, call me.
That's right.
And on to our transition. Actually, there's another thing I kind of wanted to talk about. There's currently a strike here in LA from the actors, right, and the writers union. And one of the things that it's very relevant to what we talk about, which is they want some safeguards around AI generated content. Now, writers, obviously, they don't want AI to be trained with their works and then be able to create incredible plays that don't involve them, right? And so they end up losing out.
Yeah.
And I think it's very, very fair. Yeah, it's a very, very fair argument. And actors are worried that AI, like production studios, will train models with performances from other actors. They'll use their body, their image, and their likeness, and generate a lot more content without having to pay them. And you know, I think some people like don't understand the strike because people are like, well, why are actors striking? I mean, they make millions and millions of dollars, right? Now this is a misconception because actors, like 80% of actors that are in the actors union, which are the real pros, they don't even make something like, I read a statistic that everyone's sharing. I don't know how accurate it is, but they say something like they don't even make $27,000 a year, which is the minimum they need to make in order to qualify for insurance from their union. You know, something like 87 or 80 some percent. So most
it's definitely not enough for LA. LA, you can't live on that.
27,000 in LA, dude. You're like, I know. How do you even pay rent? You know?
Yeah, right.
So yeah, this is something that I think some people might not understand. So there's a reason why they're worried now, because now if their acting becomes even cheaper because they can just replace them with AI, what's going to happen to all these jobs? Yeah. And I've heard that studios have tried to look into that. They've actually hired AI experts, LLM experts, to train not only like visual images, but also like script writing for looking at the past 100 years of Hollywood history and take all the best elements.
Right.
They're trying to, and this is something I ran into. I was doing some extra work in a TV show. And I was talking to a guy there who said that he was paid a day's works, which is like $100 or something like that, $120, $150, to go and get his face scanned in 3D. And we're like, oh, dude, don't do that. Like, did you see what you signed? He's like, no, I looked like, I don't know, I just signed whatever, and then they scanned my face. So he might have been giving away his rights to that production to use his image for $150, you know? And I think that's kind of what the union is fighting for. Because if that's all he's ever going to see is $150 and then you'll see him as an extra, you know, all these little guys in the background that are not paid people anymore.
They're all him there.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, they all look the same. You know, well, with deepfake, you can just change the features, right? So it's kind of scary.
Yeah,
scary.
Well, it's in a way, it's kind of like the whole royalty thing, right? I know there's in other countries where royalties aren't paid out to actors. It's like like a contract will pay you X amount for your image, and then what we do with it is whatever. But as I understand, American actors can get royalties a lot of times, like for being in commercials, and if a commercial is aired a lot, then everybody makes more money, right? And it kind of makes sense because it ties the production. It's a more fair system. It ties the production value, I mean the revenue to what the actual big company's making, right? If the company is airing it more, they're getting paid more, and so that money's flowing through all the people that were involved.
Yeah.
So that's an interest. So and it sounds like it's protecting that, Because now it's like 10 times as worse, right? If not only can people, how are they paying you $150 once or whatever it is, one time fee,
I don't know, whatever, right?
Yeah, or even if even if it gets royalties, that movie, but now they can take your image and then make other stuff that you get absolutely no benefit from, even though it's your likeness. Yeah, it sounds like a very bad beginning to some type of like dystopia where you have like super wealthy individuals that control the AI, and then everybody else is poor.
Yeah.
Like hyper-capitalism or something. I don't know.
One of the main actresses that's on the actress side, Justine Bateman, she's also a data scientist, and she understands both elements. Mm-hmm. She was saying that what the studios are trying to do is create. So, like, say you have a new movie, right? Normally you just have one storyline, but with AI, there's the potential that people could come in and customize or influence the story so that, for example, like, hey, I want more Mexican characters because, Viva la Raza.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So I just say, hey, it knows what I like, and it serves that. So that content gets, like, the actors get replaced, right? The storylines can get replaced and rewritten because now they're performed by AI. And so everyone ends up having, like, really customized entertainment stuff, And the studios don't want to pay the actors for that, basically. So it sounds kind of like, wow, it doesn't sound like much different than a video game, right? I mean, video games, there's so much customization you can do, and there's like a general storyline, but overall there's, you're more in control,
Well, what we're paying for, I guess when we watch a movie, is the authentic human experience, right? Mm-hmm. The better an actor is at conveying like sincerity in how they feel, and the more convincing their acting is like a real thing. We're paying for their human interaction. That's what we connect with as humans, seeing other humans, which is, I guess, that's the premium versus watching. Well, although that's interesting because I was going to say that's the premium that we're doing over like the games or something like that. But then I was thinking some of the highest grossing movies are actually animated movies like Toy Story and all these things. So maybe we're overvaluing the human experience.
But at the end of the day, you make a good point, because I feel like people still want to they want to feel a connection to a human. Like if you're watching a non-animated movie, right? You want to feel like the actors are real people, and you want to feel like if you were to run into them on the street, like you would know them. Now, knowing that it's an AI-generated actor, I think takes away from that. At least for me, I feel like it does. Even if, say, the AI was so good that it could really imitate human emotion, that you're like, wow, that was amazing. But I still feel like, okay, well, that was just like Final Fantasy 20. You know what I mean? It would still not be like a movie that I would watch for the drama and the connection.
Well, but check it out. So it's an interesting thing, but if you look at the top lifetime grossing things, movies.
Are you gonna share?
For example, I just looked it up. Yeah, sure, I'll share it. We see, again, these are not adjusted for inflation. I think these are just the total raw values. But you have Avatar, which is Avatar is interesting because Avatar is using the likeness of people's faces and the acting skills, but it is actually creating a whole animated world around it. So Avatar was probably the closest thing that we've seen to actors being replaced, slowly. But it's kind of like a hybrid. So you got Avatar 1 and Avatar 2, Titanic. Okay, that's human. Star Wars, Avengers, Spider-Man, No Way Home. I'm not sure which one that one is. Jurassic Park. But then you got the stuff like The Lion King, which are all animated, right? Top Gun. You got Frozen, which is animated. Super Mario Brothers animated. So maybe we're overvaluing the ability of technology to replace human labor or human, or being able to replicate the human stuff. Like growing up as kids, I mean, this is even more interesting. I remember being a kid and always wanting to, if I had a choice, I would always watch the cartoon movie over the adult movie. I wasn't interested in adult movies because the colors weren't as vivid, you know, like there wasn't as much entertainment for me, the stimulus. I always preferred cartoons, and cartoons are fake. They're not real humans.
Yeah, but
yet,
as a kid, I think your understanding of human emotions and the intricacies of people's faces is not as evolved. You know, like I see that with my daughter. When she was younger, she used to like only cartoons and animals. Now that she's getting older, she starts saying, "Oh, you know, like other movies are interesting too." You know, and I think eventually, it's like as an adult, you can appreciate entertainment and good animated movies like Toy Story or whatever, but you still are looking for a movie that really touches and it hits the human connection. You know? Now I think Avatar, the reason they do that well is because they're still real actors, right? That are really, really good, that are able to convey emotions and the whole setup that they have. You know, I don't know if you've seen that behind the scenes, but it's able to capture so much intricacy in their faces.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of think, especially because I've studied acting and I've acted for many years. I feel like acting, it's really difficult for any actor to get really, really good. And because it takes a lot of emotion, it takes a lot of understanding of psychology. And I don't think that an AI could generate that just by copying. But I may be wrong. But I kind of think that it's going to be so difficult, especially, we played with a lot of the AI and we play with all the top AI that's out there, right? And none of that can generate a good human connection and a good performance yet.
I think it will. I think it's just a matter of time. Because look, everybody's up. Think about it. One of the ChatGPT is relatively new, right? And it's already just completely conquered almost like mainstream attention just on like the first really successful iteration. And of course there's still a lot of problems, but like there's something that's fascinating. Everyone's fascinated, and it's still like in a very nascent form, right? And just from like going from ChatGPT 3.0 to 3.5 to 4, there's been big changes, right?
Yeah.
And like huge leaps in how much time, you know? What about the Mid-Journey, right? Mid-Journey has been doing a lot of things, or even just from a year ago, Stable Diffusion and then Mid-Journey and where it's at now.
Do you remember last year where he would come out with like 10 fingers and like 100 teeth?
Is it still doing that though, isn't it? Or
no, 5.2 was so good. I have very few images that I've seen with like crooked fingers or weird.
Oh, really? They fixed that? That's amazing.
Oh my God.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So if you just look at the pace in which AI is evolving, like, is it really that hard to imagine that, like how many different things does it need to learn AI or the technology evolve to get to the level of creating a compelling human video experience, you know?
That's a good question. I think it's gonna take like actors and trainers to educate the AI on human emotion and psychologists, and I don't think if people are going to be willing to do that. But maybe there'll always be people that might. But I think that it also touches into something with AI. One of the reasons they don't give it emotions is because once an AI has emotions, it's more easy to be manipulated. Because once it has emotions, it can build an emotional connection to a user who can use manipulation tactics to get it to do something that might be against its own writing and it's against its own code. So I think for it to be a really good actor, it needs to understand human emotions. Because like right now, like even with 11 Labs, when you're like angry voice, it goes like, it's so over the top because it thinks that angry means that I have to talk like this, but I've never heard of a real angry person talking like this, you know? Give an example of bad acting, right? Like anger is more of an internal emotion that gets expressed in different ways, and you can't force it. You can't like fake anger. Because a good, human viewers will be like, okay, that's just fake. It's bad act. That's what we call bad acting. So, oh man. So I don't know if the AI will ever get to that level, personally. But I might be just naive. You know, a lot of I've gotten into some conversations with actors, and whenever I mention this stance, I don't think the AI will ever replace actors. Like at least the top actors, they always think that I'm naive about it.
Look, could you imagine talking to somebody from 200 years ago? 200 years ago was what? 20, what year are we in? 2024? It's like 1800s, right?
Yeah.
1800s, and saying, hey, yeah, in the future, we're going to be able to communicate with people with this little tiny thin thing. And we're going to be people from China, you know, we can talk to them, and we could just bring up this little tiny tablet made out of glass and metal that's going to be able to, we're going to be able to see somebody, you know, some far away. Like, had you told somebody 200 years ago, you know, that they were like, dude, this guy's nuts, right?
Not fair.
Or like Marconi who developed the radio, helped develop the radio and his understanding of radio waves. People thought he was nuts.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what? It's like you can't see radio waves, right? But they were there, and they helped transmit information, and people thought he was crazy. And like, so I don't know. I it's like you never know what you don't know. And if anything shows us that human ingenuity, which AI is a product of human ingenuity, right?
Mm-hmm.
is incredible, and we're always besting ourselves, right, as in humanity, and like making skyscrapers, getting someone to the moon, like it just seems boundless. And so, if we go with that idea, it seems like it's only a matter of time before we're going to have AI actors potentially doing Oscar-worthy performances. But it'll be. I think it's possible. Just off that idea. Whether I want to believe it or not, my limited mind makes me think that somehow it's impossible. I don't know. Like,
so I think like, yeah, I think humans will not like it is what I'm saying. The psychology of humans. So I think, okay, so you might get the technology to be able to do that and be like, wow, that was all AI generated or whatever. But people will be like, okay, I'll accept one, but I won't accept like 100 movies that are all AI generated, because I still want the human connection. I want to believe that like that guy could be my buddy in real life. I want to believe that girl, if I were single, that she could be my girlfriend, or, you know, people want that belief, you know? Now, if they're lied to and they're not told that they're AI generated actors, well, that might be a different thing.
Well, that's kind of interesting, because if you think about too, like, again, the list that we saw: Avatar, Avengers, you got Titanic, but then you got Star Wars, Avengers, Spider-Man, Jurassic World, The Lion King. These are all, a lot of these are just made up things. I don't think that we go to the movies thinking that they can be our girlfriends or boyfriends. Maybe the actor behind the suit.
Well, the actor, the superstar.
Oh,
I think they become sex symbols. You know, I don't think you would have an AI that's a sex symbol unless you're in Japan, and then everything goes. Just kidding, Japan. I love Japan.
It's interesting, but it could adapt too, because I also remember, you know, our generation, especially mine, we were the ones that were kind of stuck in the middle of the analog world and the digital world. Do you remember being in school, like in elementary school and middle school, writing papers by hand and turning them into a teacher? Yeah. And how we moved over, like for me, it was around high school, middle school, where we started writing papers, and they required them to be written out in computer. And it was hard initially. It didn't seem natural at all, right? Because I craved the pencil paper connection. That was how my brain was wired. And then now I feel just as good. And I know that kids that were born into technology, they're like, you know, ducks in water in terms of using the technology and feeling that it's very natural. So maybe what the norms are and what people crave might also be a response to what they grow up with, right? So I could imagine kids growing up with AI actors craving that specific acting style, you know? Anyway, it looks like you may have been cut off, which means that it's time to get going, because it's 2:30. And I believe that this was a really interesting discussion about AI and some of the use cases of AI. Mark, I thank you for hosting this, and this is our third AI. I'm looking forward to seeing what next week we can talk about. So on behalf of Mark and myself, I want to say goodbye to everybody, and thanks for watching if you did watch this far. Thank you.